was just having problems with the resolution, but we are switched into a game and can start actually talking about what's going to happen in the match. Well, as for the overall level of the players, we have seen, or actually I have seen in their stats that NHN are something around 1700 up to 1700, but Resist Empire, the grey player, is actually almost 1900, so that should definitely be a player to watch. He seems to be a Slovakian player, and well, definitely one that will be quite a bit of a problem for THERI. THERI, on the other hand, are an Indian clan that are mainly playing in new player lobby, but some of them have also played in Medieval Siege and they have recorded some victories in there, so they might be something around 1600 as well, or up to 1600, so it should be a pretty decent match, especially considering that we are playing in 4v4, which means that the 1900 player isn't really ensured that he's going to be winning the game overall or something. Looking at the civilizations, we have NHN Forever as Saracen. Then we have NHN Physis or Physis as Viking. Pekka from NHN is Franks and Resist Empire is Britons. Whereas against them we seem to be having a pretty much a mirror, as the DNA Man is also playing Britons, Thunder Taron is playing Saracens, Geneti is Vikings and Rudy Boy is Franks. Alright, so in the meantime, let's just have a look into, for example, as we are looking at Pekka and his point of view, and Fog of War as he's luring one of the deer in, if he sees where the boars are. Well, so far I don't really see the boars for him, which is slightly unfortunate of course, so where are they hiding? One of them is where? On the right side, so that's just out of line of sight of his, but since he is in the pocket and NHN Forever is going to be scouting in there, he might just in a moment let him know where the boar is, and the second boar is somewhere maybe hidden in the back. Yeah, it is exactly. So yep, that will take a bit of extra scouting for him, but since he is seeing the hunt at least at the top, he might be having quite enough food together with the sheep that are being sent to him by his teammate Forever for a pretty decent start overall. Let's switch into another player, for example, for NHN, the Resist Empire, the strongest player who is playing as a pocket as well, the second pocket, basically the ultimate pocket in the corner of the map, and he will be having a pretty decent map it seems, even though the stone behind the tree line is not ideal all that much. It is basically close to the wall, and since he's a pocket, it's not going to matter all that much, and he's seeing the board quite nicely with the first one already being butchered right under the TC. Another gold in the forefront, another stone as well, so not really any kind of problems with resources with the big gold mine being at the back, and he has already milled next to the berries, so he is definitely quite okay with the food, going with the second boar right about now, so pretty decent base for him. The last one to have a look from NHN is going to be Physis, who is already butchering a boar as well, going for berries without a mill, but also seeing the second boar behind his base and already trying to make sure that he is protected as he's palisade walling together also with the house. And who will be actually he facing? Let's turn on the Fog of War for a moment, and he will be playing against Rudy Boy. Rudy Boy is playing Franks, whereas the blue player is playing Vikings, so that's going to be an interesting matchup to be honest, as Vikings are not really all that strong on land maps, so yeah, I'm not exactly sure what the plan is going to be here, but it's definitely going to be quite interesting. He has just scouted at the back that he will have to build a wall in there as well, that the tree line is not going all the way through wall, and right now just finishing with the mill. Maybe could have been placed a bit better in there, but it's not really going to matter anyway, because this way it could potentially be easier for him to palisade wall around it to protect himself against some kind of raid in. Otherwise, gold placement not really bad. The forward one, well, it is towards the pocket, so should be defensible with the help of his allies. So not really anything all that bad. And we will be switching, for example, into the DNA Man in the opposing team. Already having a farm in here, so early in the game, as he is finishing with the wild boar. And is he seeing the second one somewhere, or is that the second one? I would be thinking that at this stage, it's already the second boar. And he's already milling also on the deer in the forefront, and otherwise he spawned quite nicely next to the wall and will be facing, well, next to the relic also, his green opponent who is quite close, under Taron, and it's actually not an opponent, sorry, that's actually his teammate. Yeah, I was kind of curious why is he so close to him? And well, that's because it is his teammate. Bit of idols in here as the sheep are not really getting butchered as soon as the boar is here on the left, with the second boar still being ready, and this could maybe be a bit of a problem for him, the gold placement, because it's kind of aggressive, not really easy to wall. You might just put a wall about here and basically protect the bottom at least for the start, which might be enough, but looking at the huge expanse in here, yeah, probably not going to be easy all that much. So it seems like that DNA Man is going to be the first one into Feudal Age, as he's already advancing, and he has also been scouting into Orange. He's having a bit unfortunate idle in here with the Lumber Camp Villager, and he's definitely aiming to raid a bit into the pocket, not really looking at forever either. So that's definitely some kind of strategy maybe for them, that they will be going for raiding into pockets rather than the side players. Okay, already finishing with the walling, of course, as usual. So that's Thunder Tarum not really leaving anything to chance, the same as his opponent at the top, as we have seen a bit earlier, Physis. But he should really be careful about this route at the back, because that could potentially be a very easy way inside this route. And you can see that Rudy Boy is already scouting right deep inside his base. Okay, trying to finish with the wall on the right side, and it seems like that he might be trouble with a bit of wood. Well, he's having a decent amount of wood. He's also dropped barracks together with pretty nice palisade wall to protect his villas on the wood, but well, he's really taking it slow with the wall, but not anymore. Looking at some positioning on the minimap of some multicolored dots all around, it seems green is right now scouting around yellow, so he might be potentially cooperating with his teammate DNA Man with the scout in here, especially since he has just discovered the yellow food villas without any milk, quite far away from their hometown center, so that's not really going to be optimal, but probably looking around the map and the other players as well, it's probably not going to be making a whole lot of difference in the game overall. We have a scout battle at the top. So far we don't really see any drushes or whatnot. So it seems that both teams are going to be interested in a bit more advancing through Castle Age and only then fighting with some knights, maybe cavalry archers and whatnot. So that's definitely going to be a plan in here, as really early aggression doesn't seem to be anything that either of the teams would be interested in. Scout from the Grey player is also moving forward, and well, it is basically just a scouting with all the scouts all around the map, just trying to make sure that they know what their opponents are doing and maybe harassing a willy or two on the way. So he'll be potentially looking at some faster advances into castle. You can see that Forever is already dropping a blacksmith, so that might be something he will be interested in. Let's switch into his point of view. Yeah, he's definitely having the resources, 700 food already. So yep, that is going to be his plan. And how about his teammates? Stable for Pekka Pig, who is playing Franks, so that might be also faster castle. He's already at 800 food as well. But well, is that going to be enough? Not sure, we'll be seeing how he advances, because he's probably aiming for the knights and raiding in the castle age. Same could be said about the Resist Empire, but he is already having a stable as well, so he might be going for a bit of a scout raiding, but let's just make sure about that. Yeah, he is very low on food, that's because he's advancing into castle as the first player, and he is definitely making his presence count as the one who is having the highest score of all the players, almost 1900. Otherwise, Pekka Pig and Forever are already clicking into castle as well, with Thunder Tarun being actually the last or advancing into the Feudal Age. And is there a reason for that? He is having 24 villagers, so not really, but otherwise the villages are pretty much okay, and same for NHN and THERI, so really not any kind of significant disadvantage for either team. Pekka Pig just now saying that he's going to be going knights in his chat to teammates, as we are looking at the walled-in pocket for the team THERI. They should probably be working on finishing the walls in here as well, that they are not surprised exactly as he's trying to wall himself on the left, but well, he might be wanting to invest a bit more, because if he can protect this gold mine, it could definitely help him in the minutes to come. Well, unfortunate timing for Resist Empire, who has just lost his knight, but since he has just advanced into Castle Age, he is still going to be a lot of threat, and I'm fully expecting, yep, knights coming in from the Frank, or rather Britons, sorry, He plays playing Britons with second town center and third already being built as well. So pretty much a correct boom. The Castle Age and also a bit of raiding with Briton Knights. Quite nice finishing with the wall in 4 physics it seems, so he's definitely thinking about protecting himself and also switching into archery range, so he will be, I'm thinking, supporting the grey player with some crossbowmen, and that's definitely a pretty good idea, as that's going to be a strong combo against the opponents who are just now clicking into the Castle Age as the first from their team Chenate is doing. Otherwise, not much going on from green player, who is just scouting with the scout and trying to wall himself in with palisade wall and a stone wall on top of that. So he's definitely thinking he's going to need all the help that he can get. And is he actually broken through? Oh yes, he is. It seems that he's actually broken through in here. Yeah, just now confirmed by Forever. And that might be a lot of problem for him. He should be seeing that because of the hunters at the bottom. But let's have a look how's it looking in red, because that's the player who is feeling the most action so far, as he is being raided by Resist Empire from the start by the scout, and right now also by the knight that is already trickling in one by one. Even with another knight who is actually caught in a trap, as he needs to wait for the wall to finish, or rather the gate to finish, but it's still quite enough, and even those 2 knights should be enough to get rid of the spearman, but since one extra is already in, not probably. So he needs to be a bit more careful, but he has already killed 3 villagers, as you can see the skeleton at the top from the bit earlier, and 2 villagers right at the bottom, so he definitely needs to pick up his game. I'm talking about red, if he wants to survive another bleed dead, so pretty good job by the grey player, and let's have a look somewhere else, as this is going to be, at least for the moment, the end of it, as the spearmen are already catching up with the knight. So, unfortunately, the hole inside the green wall is going to be quite costly to him, as he is being breached by knights by the yellow player, and this is definitely going to be a problem, because he wasn't having even barracks, he wasn't really prepared for any kind of eventuality like this, and if yellow can stop him from bringing it up, oh well, that's going to be pretty knee-deep trouble for him, and with already pretty huge amount, or rather pretty huge squad of knights coming into his base and on the tree line, oh well, that's going to be super painful. Nicely played by the NHN so far, with the raiding on both red and the green flanks, and it's going to be probably up to the pockets of THERI, the NA and Chenite to somehow help their teammates and maybe even turn the game around. Under Taron right now going to be advancing into castle, but I'm slightly worried for him that it might be a bit too late, and I'm not exactly sure what he might be doing against this kind of attack without any kind of military building and without the resources for castle or whatnot. It's going to be pretty tough, as he's going to be losing this village as well. And I'm fully expecting the gold village on the left also. But, well, we'll see about that, and let's have a look at the top, because we already see some multicolored dots in there, and these colors are blue, exactly as we're expecting the crossbowman from the Viking, and he will be helping the grey player, the knights, and hoping that he can somehow put the player out of position altogether. A lot of spearmen all around for red player, so he is protecting what he can. They really set the wood line that are so far the most numerous for him, but unfortunately facing against crossbowmen is not going to be ideal for those guys, and if the blue player fizzes can pick them off, is definitely going to open the route for Resist Empire with his knights to basically wreak total havoc against, or rather amongst, the villages, and that's going to be very hard for red player to deal with. Castle Age for the DNA man, as the second pocket for the opponent, for THERI. Fortunately, Grey just losing the knight in here through some very nice bell by Rudy Boy, and unfortunately that's pretty much going to be it, and he really needs to be careful, as those blue crossbowmen are going to be killing one villager after the other, as we also need to switch somewhere else to have a look what's happening. In Green's base, he's of course going to be forced off all the resources, as he's forced to ring a bell as well. It's a pretty tough situation for him, whereas Yellow is also switching into the left flank and is going to be helping with the red player and maybe even with the teal one, because there's yet again a hole in the wall, which I think is intentional actually, and there's going to be a bit of a fight between knights of his and Chenite, but unfortunately Chenite doesn't have the numbers, and oh well, You might want to send a bit few more willies in there, but also the idea with the monastery is a pretty good one and could be helping him, especially against the knights, as monks are definitely a pretty good unit against that. In the meantime, let's have a look though at the other side, where there's a bit of attempt by the purple player who is just advancing to castle to go for a bit of a tower spam. It's not really a trash, because for trash you would have to do it a lot sooner. But since this is a bit of a problem for the orange player, it is slowing him down, which means that he cannot join the full-on offensive on the opponents, and you can see a bit of archers in here from the purple player are already killing at least a few willies from the orange one. The most action so far is happening at the top, as the number of the crossbowmen for a blue player are growing in pretty big numbers, and since they are right now joined also by the orange, or yeah, by the orange who is finally joining into fun as well, with at least a few knights, this is going to be a pretty tough moment for the red player, as he's under attack from absolutely everybody, but seems to be doing a pretty good job considering that he is so far playing basically alone, not really receiving any help from his teammates, and he is just now switching into skirmishers, trying to make sure that he has both units against the knights and also against the crossbowmen, but it's going to be tough, as he's facing 2 and kinda half, as Resist Empire was also going for him, but Resist Empire seems to be taking a bit of a break, booming quite a lot through the 3 TCs and whatnot, and basically is probably going to be waiting for his Mythical Age, or rather Imperial Age. Mythical Age, that's in Age of Mythology. Yep, just now. Exactly, you guessed it right, advancing into Imperial Age, and he will be waiting for a bit more upgrades into his knights that are ravaging the countryside of his teal opponent. In the meantime, teal is, I was going to say that he's having a bit of knights raiding his opponent as well, but unfortunately these were just a few sheep in there behind the forest line. And well, yellow seems to be quite content as well with the 3 TCs raiding all around. But not really anymore. That's kinda curious, because it seems that he has let on his pressure on the green player, which is basically allowing him to slowly but surely get back into the game, and we can plug the wall, which he just did, and finish with the stone wall. He might just be getting somehow into the game. So yep, let's not discount him altogether. He though needs to be careful about his way inside his route, inside his gate. Fizz is just now saying that he's going to be going champions, and let's have a look at purple base. He seems to be kinda ready in to defend against his opponents, but he needs to be a bit more careful. But right now with the monk, he might just be stealing one of those for him, which he definitely will right about now. But he paid with his life for it anyway. But still, that was a pretty good trade, as it was exactly what allowed him to stop the raiding from Pekka and will be allowing him to defend even against the grey player joining into the fun as well. So far, it's pretty much in power of NHN, as they are playing quite well with raiding and all. And it might be their game for the taking, but we shouldn't really discount THERI out all that much, even though they are losing on the score by 1500. Basically the double, or rather the half, of what their opponents, the new Hell Hunters, are having. It's still not over. He is having the town centers and some kind of economy, which can still do something if they play this carefully and use the units like the Spearmen, as they are supposed to be used. Exactly like this. Pretty good battle right now for purple, as we have just gotten rid of all the units by Resist Empire. But since Resist Empire has advanced into the Imperial Age and is going for Cavaliers and Plate Bardin armor, well, that's going to be pretty tough for him. And you can see that red player is still quite quite valiantly fighting against his opponent Physis. And since he is massing a lot of skirmishers, the crossbowman should be really careful, and red should be also careful not to lose the spearman needlessly, because he needs to protect against the knights in here. Nice teamwork by NHN. Very nice teamwork indeed, and it seems like that it might be not really enough for Rudy Boy, and that's basically what I was telling you a bit earlier, that red is playing basically alone against 2 or 3 players, and that's usually pretty hard to do, especially in the early stages of the game. And since you can see that the economy from the red player is basically dead, Yeah, he doesn't have all that many chances how to defend against this, because he has just run out of wood, he has just food and gold, and that's unfortunately not something that is going to help him all that much at this stage. He's Frank though, so he could be switching into knights, but he doesn't have even wood. He doesn't have even wood for the stable, of course, so that's a bit of a problem. Might be needing a bit of help from his teammates overall. In the meantime, Cavaliers, with Iron Casting being researched, are already ravaging the purple player as well, and this time it's probably not going to be all that easy for purple to defend against this, as he doesn't have enough priests or monks, just one of those, and he also doesn't have kind of extra resources, it seems, as his economy is getting killed quite a lot and quite fast. So that's one flank of the grey player. Oh well, trying to establish the castle. Well, that's probably not going to work all that much because you don't have any kind of extra units to defend against the Cavaliers. And if the Cavaliers can scout it, let's switch into Resist Empire because I'm not exactly sure that he sees it. Oh, right now he does. That's unfortunate because otherwise he wouldn't see it, as the Cavaliers don't really have all that big line of sight, but with noticing it quite late and just now arriving in there, he might just be able to finish. Oh well, he will. He will. And that might actually help him quite a lot. Oh well, last moment finish castle. And that actually turns things around a bit, because with the fire from 2 TCs and the castle, this might be a pretty good defense into his base and might be allowing him to do something else than just die. We though at the same time see that Resist Empire is definitely going for it, with an aggressive castle right next to the relic and also on the doorstep of his opponent, Chenite. Well, Chenite, he does have at least a few spearmen in here ready to potentially defend, but I'm slightly worried for him that it might not be enough. Looking how his opponent is going to be right in there and is also going for Monastery. Well, that's because of the relic, but I'm still more looking for some siege workshops. A lot of villies going somewhere forward. And where are they going to be dropping a castle? Maybe in here somewhere, because we can see a lot of Cavaliers still trying to go into the opponent's base. They have a way through the top. But where could they be going? They are going for gold in the middle. As he has run out in his base, and oh yeah, he's seeing that he actually doesn't need to worry about any opponent raiding at all. So he's just going to occupy all the gold in the middle and get raided before it can fall into the enemy hands. Definitely a pretty good idea. In the offensive of NHN Physis, we see a switch into longswordsmen from the crossbowmen that are just hidden behind the castle, and well, this is a pretty big problem, of course, for a Rudy boy yet again, as he's not still receiving any kind of help, and through that, he's doing a damn good job still staying in the game, I have to say. Even though it's kinda losing battle quite obviously, as he cannot really face multiple opponents at once without some lasting damage, he's doing all he can, and basically allowing his allies like Chenite or the middle pocket DNA man to somehow come back into the game and help him and maybe turn it all around. Not exactly sure if that can happen, but it's definitely something that will be attempted by the THERI team. At the same time, Grey has just finished with the town center of his green opponent, putting him in a very tough situation, as he's so far, I don't think he has any kind of town center left. The one lumber camper in here next to the castle. Well, with a few spearmen or other pikemen already at the bottom, but that's pretty much it. With a few gold villies also in there, and that's almost it with the last gold or other lumber camper in here. And that's pretty much it for the green. And you can see that purple is already calling a GG, as he is under pretty heavy attack by Resist Empire, and seeing that this is not going to be going on well for them. And NHN are slowly but surely taking game number 1 of season 39 of our RTS League's Age of Empires 2, the Conquerors Clan League. So good job on that. DNA man already been resigned, and we are just waiting for the rest of his team to do the same. Red was quite valiantly fighting the whole game. Fortunately, he's going to be forced to resign as well. But he definitely was a pretty good player for the THERI team. GG from Chenite, who who wasn't really under all that much attack, and the attack that he was under, he was able to repel, so he was playing quite nicely and comfortably, but unfortunately it wasn't really enough to help his teammates all that much. Finishing with the castle in here, and we are just waiting for Thunder Tarun, was the last one from THERI team to also go out with a boom. With a few brave pikemen inside his own base waiting for the game to finish. Well, GG, and let's have a look at the post-game. The MVP will definitely resist Empire, most score, and since he was also the highest scored in the rating, that's definitely understandable, and he was also quite important in the game. But in the early stage, I think the most important was Physis, who was putting a pretty strong pressure on Rudy Boy, who seemed to be the strongest player from THERI, as he was doing quite well against two opponents at once. And then Forever with his rating on green, that was also pretty important. Pretty strong echo, of course, from Resist Empire, as we would expect. Well then, GG.